This is Monocle on Design, a show where we discuss everything from architecture and craft to furniture and fashion. I'm Nic Monisse. On today's program, we're coming to you from the streets of Dubai, where the most recent edition of Dubai Design Week has just taken place. We're going to hear from a host of designers and creatives involved in the annual event. All that coming up on Monocle on Design. Hello, Nic Monisse here on the streets of Dubai, wrapping up and packing up the most recent iteration of Dubai Design Week. It concluded over the weekend, and the event featured 500 designers, brands and creatives from 40 countries who showcased their work that ranged from the practical to the experimental. The aim? To push the boundaries of creativity and further cement Dubai's status as the region's design hub. To start today's show, we're going to visit one of the installations that was, installed in the Dubai Design District, a burgeoning neighbourhood of the city. Here, Enfold was in place for the course of the week, and it was the work of Dubai-based multidisciplinary practice, Diond. The studio was founded by Ross Lovegrove and Ila Colombo in 2023, and their intention with this project was to explore the potentials of new ways of building and making. Crafted from corrugated cardboard, it had perforated walls, allowing natural light to filter through, shifting in intensity as the sun moved across the sky. To explain more, Ila joined me in the pavilion and started by telling me why she moved to Dubai.
I would say the number one reason is confronting the challenge of designing both architecture and design for this region. We believe that when there is a need, you will succeed, and there's a lot of need here. First, you could say the climate and climate change and rising temperatures. So it's a big challenge that can promote anything from material innovation to architectural innovation, and just having a different approach to make everything smarter and more resilient, and therefore promotes creativity in the way you think of anything. So in this instance, the architecture that you see on the outside has a reason. How do we play with the sunlight to create something that is soothing on the inside but dimmed and also more comfortable? So all of these 945 trapezoid shapes, they have different inclination and shape for that particular reason. And then the overall objective of the practice is to offer interdisciplinary thinking, anything from 3D printed architecture to design, art, and so on and so forth, with this kind of mindset. How can we craft something specifically for this region, but with a European background and understanding, you would say. This is made with corrugated cardboard. Cardboard is a fantastic material because it's incredibly solid and durable, sometimes even waterproof for a short period of time. We were just interested of using something that feels of the region in terms of look and feel, but also offers a sustainable approach and circularity in its use and applicability. Cardboard is a byproduct of packaging, and we're going to find also a second life for each panel as well for interior purposes.
Amazing. So it feels like there's a few things. So there's like almost materiality, style and aesthetic way of building. Maybe if we start with that, you talk about making something that feels appropriate for the region. I just find that kind of curious because I come here and it's like the first thing you're greeted by at Dubai Airport is like advertisements for Italianate style villas on the lagoon. Where do you draw this aesthetic from, and why is it important to embrace that and not to simply import an aesthetic from like Europe to the Middle East?
Well, the first one is to be completely out of context. And also because this place has such a young history, we want to be contributing to make their own history and their uniqueness. So we're interested in that subtlety. This is inspired by the local nature. So it resembles the natural skin of the palm trees. So this overlap triangulation of the palm trunk. So you see a little bit of this, or even the desert roses or seeds. So it has a lot to do with the natural environment or the natural species that you find here. We're interested in making this region more unique with what they have to offer, other than bringing an exterior perspective and impose it on that.
And then I guess further applications for like building in the Gulf, what could this be applied to homes? Where could this like method of these trapezoids? Where could these be applied elsewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at Middle Eastern architecture historically, they've always been working with the wind catchers, for example, and shading patterns to offer this shade perspective, both for privacy and also because of the harsh sun. So absolutely, this is made in cardboard, but the idea would be to upscale or downgrade in any way with different materials as well. So this could be reapplied for 3D printed concrete or precast concrete, for example, all the way to metal and so on and so forth.
I think that's quite curious. You talk about this being a tradition and being a way of building, and yet so much of the region has maybe moved away from that. There's like big glassy buildings around here. Was there anything in your research that you pulled out that could also be applied, or are there other ways of building and making from the region that could be taken elsewhere?
I do believe that if this region succeeds in finding new ways through their history and new materiality and technologies to create something that's more climate resilient, then it can be also exported elsewhere, because they're going to be touching firsthand what climate change really means. I mean, we're cooking under the sun, so if you put glazing all over a building, you're going to cook on the inside as well. So you need to think differently on how you cool on the inside and put daylight through the building, or have some parts illuminated, some not, and so on. Just
finally, I mean, the cardboard, how important is materiality and playing with materiality to the work of your studio?
Yeah, very important. So most of the projects we're doing right now always starts from a material perspective. Obviously, this one is the most down-to-earth, in a way, project, meaning cardboard is something that we don't always use for buildings. But yeah, we always often start with the material. So we're doing something, for example, now looking at how can we have breathable walls that retain moisture for also a cooling effect. And we start from the material all the way to the design of the architecture. So material is always very important for us.
Illa Colombo there. We'll be right back after this.
What kind of city do you want to live in? Every week on The Urbanist, we delve into the biggest questions about urban living and meet the people championing change in our cities. From star-architects to designosauruses, protected views to landfills, river walks and sidewalks, wayfinding and cycle highways. The city is alive and kicking, so how can we make them better places to live in?
The other great city creation, of course, is sex. Young people go to cities to have a good time and to enjoy themselves and to meet their life partners and maybe a few other people on the way.
Join me, Andrew Tuck, every Thursday at 2000 hours London time for a brand new episode. Or subscribe to the podcast and listen as you go. The Urbanist, the show that knows its good mares from its planning nightmares.
Next, we head to downtown Dubai, the trade-focused component of Dubai Design Week. There, I met Daniel Heelig, founder of Heelig Objects, a design studio based in Germany. Daniel was back at Dubai Design Week, having previously showcased at last year's event. This year, Heelig Objects teamed up with Thomas Trad, a Lebanese interior designer based in Dubai. Together, they collaborated on the scenography of the forum, a space in which many keynote speeches took place during the event. Daniel began by sharing the starting point for the collaboration and explained his design.
Thomas approached me. He had a beautiful idea of how to design the forum. It was mainly led by Japanese mid-century vibes, and I really liked the idea because these days I'm very much into architectural inspiration of my furniture seatings of all kind. And I wanted to contribute with an architecture that's inspired by brutalist architecture. That was the idea of designing the seating, the centerpiece or the signature centerpiece of the forum. And we were super short notice. We had like 2 months of finding someone who's as crazy as we are. And I'm super delighted and excited that we found B&T Design from Turkey, also a furniture brand that do public seating. And we found that's the perfect combination because they are super committed, they are super fast. They have the same values that we believe good design is about, and they were like super enthusiastic about supporting it. And this ended up actually in a collaboration. So this is the first time we're showing the sofas at Downtown Design, and we are going to continue this collaboration.
And it's a sort of sinuous, orange, curving sofa that looks like it. You could piece 100 of them together and have this long, squiggly line of a sofa. I mean, but it's intended for public seating. I mean, tell us what. Actually, I should say it almost looks a little bit like a chocolate bar that goes up and down. You've got like kind of grooves that come up and down. But tell us about the design of good public seating. What are you thinking about when you're creating this piece?
I believe public spaces means you have like an anonymous environment, but you always want to feel safe. That's super important. And we wanted to create a seating occasion that works for you personally and privately, that you feel somehow like secured or sheltered, or you have like a cocon. But in the same way, the composition works as such that you can easily attend more like a modular system. So we are planning to add a two-seater, one-seater. So from a collection perspective, you can easily play around with how you would like to extend the seating arrangement. But I think the fabric that we use, the color that we use is very much giving you a comfortable interior design vibes. And just think about, you are at the airport, you are in a rush, but you always want to have a rest. And I think that's super important, that you find cozy places where you can just be yourself, feel, surrounded by nice interior design.
Because the seat kind of goes up and down, so you can either sit on the higher point or you can rest your arms on it. It doubles as an armrest. You can lean across and use it as a table if someone's sitting on one of the other lower points. It kind of dips up and down. That was factored into the design too?
Absolutely. Honestly, it's the first time that we are using and showing the pieces. It's still like prototyping, and I'm super excited and curious how people interact with the sofa, how they use it. They do it sometimes differently than I was expecting it, but this is exactly the right frame and the right occasion to test the seating occasions, right? Because the bumbles were like, let's divide the seating spaces to give you a little bit of privacy, but because of the bend and curved form, there is still a certain connection between people. And now that I see that people using the bumps, they're using it in a different way, it's so exciting to see. So it's really fun.
My thanks to Daniel Heelig there. Next on today's show is Omar El Gouk. The Emirati creative studied architecture at Queen's University in Belfast and founded design practice Modu Method. This year, he was also the curator of the UAE Designer Exhibition at downtown Dubai, a showcase he first presented work at a few years ago and which ultimately informed the establishment of Modu Method. Here, Omar shares how his relationship with the Dubai design scene has developed over the years.
With Design Week, I applied to be in the UAE Designer Exhibition actually in 2021, and then I got in, which was very exciting. And because I displayed my products there with the brand Modu Method, which I developed specifically because I wanted to set a standard of what our product's potential could be, I started receiving a lot of great feedback from the people. And because I got all of this good feedback, one thing led to another, and we started doing more products. And then I started participating again and again at Downtown Design with my own booth. This year, I'm not participating with my own booth, but I am curating the UAE Designer Exhibition, which is like a full circle moment. It's because of this exhibition that I was able to kickstart my brand, spread awareness about what we do at Modu Method.
Tell us a little bit about curating this exhibition. How do you go about selecting who's going to participate?
One of the themes that I really like are comfort and function, so I put that into the brief, and then we had an open call. So it was kind of like I was curating my living room in a way.
And that's the concept. This is sort of like a little bit of a living room. I mean, tell us about some of the products that are on display here.
All of the products are actually interacting with each other in one way or another. So some people's products are sitting on top of other people's products, and it does create kind of that cozy atmosphere, which is, yesterday somebody was telling me it was like a magnet where people were attracted to coming into the space because it looked warmer than a few other booths. Not that I'm comparing.
Yeah. I was attracted to it as well, if I can be so bold as to say that.
So there are a few exciting pieces that we have here. We have about 33 designers. Some of them are in collaboration with each other. Some of them that I really like specifically are the stackable pots that we have by Pots and Pines. They are a duo from Iran, a brother and sister called Salar and Tala. They're made for outdoors. They're also very lightweight. They're also very sustainable. So it's great. They're very fun to play with. So if you're like me and you get bored very easily, you can shift things around. There's Shafiq Mekkawi's bookcase, which actually has some rotating elements on the bookcase. He's inspired by some architectural elements in Lebanon. And the concept that he has is that you get to display your books face front as opposed to spine out. So that way you get to also look at the artwork that is on your books. So it's kind of like you have art pieces that rotate that you can also shift and change around. We have very exciting speakers that we're standing in front of. Right next to. So the speakers have a very tactile quality to them as well, which is not just there for decoration, it also helps with the sound quality. And they are made out of not the strings, but the speaker
So
itself.
it's I guess strings suspended in front of the speakers as a kind of case of sorts.
Yeah, a little bit. But the actual casing of the speaker, which is made out of a material called desert board. Desert board is basically kind of like a chipboard or an OSB that is made out of palm trees. So it's very much a material that is in the region. There's also Karim and Elias's table in the front, where it has that concept of droplets of sand and a water droplet that falls onto it. The base of that table is made out of rammed earth. And it's a very beautiful table. And the glass that sits on top of the table actually sits perfectly on top of these three elements. And what they do is, I think it's called annealed glass. They leave the glass into the kiln, so it looks a little bit like a water droplet. For me, it reminds me of like an oasis in the middle of the desert. So it's very much regional. There's a lot of sand here in Dubai, so they did use some of the sand from over here to make it. Another exciting product that I think is worth mentioning is Lina Ghalib's ply palm hangers. It's like a hanging system. She's created this material called ply palm, and she takes the fronds of the palm tree, and what happens is when you do discard parts of the palm tree or the fronds, it influences the palm tree to create more dates, which is also helpful for the region. So she takes the strongest part of that frond, she creates a plywood out of it, and then she makes beautiful furniture out of that ply palm.
So there's a lot of amazing kind of material innovation. What do you hope people take away from this showcase, and why is it important that design talent from the region is being celebrated?
I just really hope that people can interact with the designers' products as much as possible. I really want them to be able to see how fun design can be as well. It doesn't have to be a good design doesn't have to be very rigid and very, it can also come from instinct, it can come from a place of passion. The exhibit could be a testament to that, because all of these pieces kind of fit in with each other in a way which is actually a little bit more fun and whimsical. So I just want people to know that the potential of design here is actually quite large.
And then tell us a little bit about Modo Method for our listeners. Work are you trying to do, and how is it you're championing other talent here? How does that also feed into the work you're doing?
A lot of the work that I do for Modu Method also comes from a place of passion. Our main concept is that we want to develop a sentimental relationship between people and their furniture, because we use furniture all the time. We don't realize that we're using it all the time, but we are. So the more you interact with a certain product, the more you develop a sentimental relationship with it. And that's why all of our products have names. All of our products are modular in one way or another. You do have to move things around so that the more you interact with them, the more you have that attachment to that piece of furniture. Another thing that we have is our space, which is our majlis. So our show villa is not a place where we actually sell our products from, but it's a place that we work from, and it is a place that we influence other people to come and hang out at. So other creatives do come and they share ideas, we sit down. It's a very warm space, so there's like carpets on the wall, it's uber 70s, and it's very cozy as well. So people that come and sit there and exchange ideas, they do it comfortably. I don't believe in the whole gatekeeping your suppliers stuff.
And that's what this is about. It's about connecting and building community, this whole exhibition here.
It is. So I wanted to kind of bring that community feel of our space into the UAE Designer Exhibition, so that people, the reason why I put other people's products on other products is because I want these designers to interact with each other, and I want them to see that there could be a potential collaboration in the future between them. Yeah.
Just finally, I mean, tell us about the importance of Dubai Design Week for a designer like yourself based in Dubai.
So for me, Dubai Design Week is very much about learning. I love to be able to walk around, to ask questions, educate people also about the talent that we have over here. So it's very much that knowledge sharing point of view for Dubai Design Week. You get to see what's out there in the market. You get to promote your product in the market. It's also a very important part of design, right? Because for us to keep making design, we're going to have to showcase products that are actually sellable. There's a lot of that, again, learning that happens.
What does this do for the Dubai design scene? I mean, I think for a lot of people, perhaps when they think of architecture and maybe even furniture design to a lesser extent, but possibly still from the region, it's often about talent being brought in, at least in recent decades. But that seems to be shifting. What does this do, hopefully, for the design talent in the region?
So it helps foster that design talent. It helps them grow in a way which is very spectacular. You know, a lot of people now are looking for regional designers that are based in the UAE or based in the region itself, in the Middle East, for them to be able to actually live the way we're supposed to be living here in this region. You know, we're not bringing design from Italy or design from Europe, which is great, but it's very contextual. When you keep that design over there and you utilize the design methods that we have over here, it also becomes contextual and it helps build up that tradition, it helps build up the heritage to be able to kind of like make it a little bit more rich.
Maybe this is the way to bring it back into this exhibition. So how are some of these pieces doing that?
All of the studios are UAE based. Some pieces do have elements that are made in other countries, but the studios are UAE based. Some of the materials are also developed here in the UAE, but because the people that made these materials grew up in the region, they have that kind of feel to them where it's, when you look at it, it doesn't really look very rigid.
My thanks to Omar El Gurk there. We'll be right back in just a moment.
When the sun's out and the mercury rises, there's only one thing to do. Dive into a body of invigorating water. Monocle's new title, Swim in Sun, features the best spots to cool off in. Whether it's a city lido, glamorous beach club, or tranquil lake surrounded by trees, we'll have you dreaming of your next splash. The restorative, life-affirming power of being around water is undeniable, be it through cutting laps at a hotel pool, swimming out to a floating dock, or reclining nearby with a glass of crisp rosé. So sit back, flick through, and discover Monocle's favorite places to take a dip around the world. Featuring beautiful photography, a smart linen cover, and essays penned by our favorite writers. Every page is packed full of inspiration and will leave you feeling salty and sun-kissed. So grab a towel and jump in. The water's just perfect.
Finally, on today's program, we turn our attention to tiling. One of the brands on show at this year's edition of Downtown Dubai was New Terracotta. Established in 2014 and based in central Portugal, the brand's aim is to merge traditional tile-making techniques with contemporary aesthetics. To tell us more about the product and the brand's ambition and evolution, we hear now from its founder, Isabel Letao-Simerman.
Since I was a young girl, I was always changing the house at home, asking my mother, can I change this? It was all about architecture and interior design and traveling around, especially with my parents. I traveled a lot and looking and seeing museums, all about art. And the background in my family is not about art. It's a very Cartesian family, mathematicians, and people very straight. But my mother was a painter herself, as a mathematician. It's all about our origins and what we did in our life. And after having my baby, Duarte, I decided I can't work anymore in multinationals, traveling all around. I have to start a business. And with my husband, we were trying to make a nice house. And I was looking for materials in Portugal. So we came back from Brazil, and we were back in Cascais, and we were looking for nice products, and I didn't find them. And I was calling factories, and I understood that they were not in Portugal. So we started like that. It was our first company, Studio Firma, which is now merged in the
with
factory.
New Terracotta, so it's part of New Terracotta. So tell us about New Terracotta and setting that up.
We are, as Portuguese, I believe that everyone knows that it's all about tiles. And into 10 years, 15 years ago, when we decided to start something about tiles and to start exporting, I was not very amused with the tiles I found in Portugal in stores, in factories. I was really impressed with, as all Portuguese and all visitors of Portugal, impressed with the tiles from the 17th, from the 18th century that were on the buildings, but not on the stores, available. So the production was not, in my opinion, very appealing. So I decided, why not make tiles as they used to be made in the 17th century, so something very handmade, very sustainable, to make our own recipes, but with a modern new look. That's why we started a Portuguese company with an English name, which was quite unusual at that time. And the name is New Terracotta, so I believe it's a new approach to terracotta. So that's the beginning of the company.
And so you started out with just a couple of people in this factory. You set up your own factory.
Me, my husband, Carlos, and 2 guys.
And it's grown
98 people now, today, 10 years after.
So tell us about the products that you're making as well.
All our tiles are made by hand, and as we make the fill tiles, which are the flat tiles, but we are very well known nowadays for making special tiles. For instance, this is an arch. It's tapered.
So it's like an L shape here that you could put on the edge of a building, a wall, a pool.
We do a lot.
So it's like this is a corner piece with 3 different sides that you can kind of slot onto something. Okay, so you're making unusual shapes. Tell us a little bit about your newer development. We're looking at some white tiles here with some colours painted on them.
Yeah, so you know that we began with handmade tiles. We did our way to sustainability. I wanted to make our own recipe. I live near Lisbon, and the factory was installed in central Portugal, so 300 kilometers from my home. Not easy, and not the very first option, for sure, but we decided because of sustainability. We wanted to be there, near the clay. And that's the start of the company. 68% of each tile is recycled, which is something very unusual. And we did that path, and every year, and I would say every week, we are inventing new products, especially based on the bespoke, because we work a lot with architects and interior designers that ask us all day bespoke tiles. That's why, if you check the website, you'll see a lot of things. That was our contribution during 10 years for the sustainable world. Today, I think we have to do more. And the idea is that we decided that in the industry, the ceramic industry, and which I don't think we belong to the ceramic industry because we are more handmade. And in the ceramic industry, it's not very easy to find very nice tiles for me. It was the same process. In Portugal, I didn't find handmade nice tiles, so we decided to build a company. Now I think we don't find a lot of very nice industrial ceramic tiles.
Industrial scale, yeah.
Yes, so we decided to pick, and we challenged a company, a very nice Portuguese company. The name is Revigres. They are a very sustainable industrial factory. We challenged them to make to contribute with their base. So this is a tile, the base.
So it's a white ceramic tile, industrial scale production.
Yes, but technical, very technical. You can put this on an airport. You can put this. It's antibacterial. It has lots of properties that we don't, of course, have in the handmade tiles. So we decided we loved this white, which we call the original super. And we decided let's have fun, as we have in the handmade. So let's have fun. We develop all these colors, and of course we can make bespoke colors. We have no limitation. The limitation in new terracotta is 3 square meters per order, and here the limitation is 10 or 6 square meters. It's nothing for industrial.
So you're hand painting onto these industrial scale tiles. So giving them character, giving them personality, giving them a feeling of not being mass produced, essentially.
That's right. I'm trying to give them a human scale, which I think is totally perfect.
I think what's really nice is that you think about so many of our public spaces that need to have these commercial grade industrial tiles on them, and that they can be so bland and so uninspiring, but what perhaps you're offering here is something that can bring colour and life and personality to an airport or a university or something that maybe gets a little bit overlooked and doesn't have the handmade tile treatment.
And I want people to touch the base. That's why what we call the fill tiles, it's always the base. The border is the key. So you can select whatever you want as a colour or a design inside, but the border...
But you still see that industrial white tile with the border.
Right.
Isabel Latau-Simerman of New Terracotta there. And that's all for today's show from Dubai. For more design stories, listen to our 5-minute midweek bonus show, Monocle on Design Extra, which airs on Thursdays. And if you enjoy print, then do pick up a copy of Monocle magazine as well. It's on all good newsstands now. Today's episode was produced and edited by Maylee Evans. I'm Nic Monisse, and you can reach me on nm@monocle.com. Thanks for listening.